You're listening to The Extraction, conversations on the systems and strategies behind dental practice growth with Colin Ambler and Kyle Bergman. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Extraction Podcast. Your co-host Kyle here, along with my co-host and the co-founder CEO of TeamCare Dental, Colin. And today we are joined by Sarah Ruberg, the founder and CEO of Our Thrive Tribe, a marketing advisory that helps dental vendors and leaders win with DSOs through strategy, personal branding, and LinkedIn Center programs. In this episode, we unpack the most famous LinkedIn post that Colin has ever published on his own LinkedIn, and we understand why that worked. And when we also talk about why people need to embrace the cringe and understand that in order to grow and to become a thought leader, you need to understand more about you so that you can develop a personal branding. I think you're going to love this episode. So let's talk to Sarah. Sarah, you are a wizard when it comes to dental marketing, and it's an honor to have you on the pod. Welcome, and how are you?
Thank you. And I am actually doing really well, surprisingly, because I woke up this morning with a headache and I was like, my gosh, I've got to get better. And Advil and coffee will do wonders. So I'm
Incredible.
great.
One of the ways that we love to kick things off, because no one wakes up when they're 7 or 8 years old and is like, I want to work in dental. It's more like astronaut, firefighter, Barnum and Bailey circus thing. So give us the short version of your path into dental and what problems you solve for your partners in the space.
I actually did want to be an actress and I wanted to be famous, had headshots, agents, auditions, all sorts of stuff in college. One day, one of my professors mentioned something to someone else in my class about event planning. And I was like, people get paid for that? I can do that. And it's probably a lot more likely that I'll have an event planning job than a acting job. So I'm going to do both at the same time. Event planning lasted for 10 years. I was like, this is too much. And my career consultant was like, you should go into relationship management. And I thought, the hell is that? So back in my day, right? Because I'm sure I'm older than you guys, I went on Monster. Do you guys remember Monster?
Of course.
And I looked for a relationship management job and I found a job at a dental marketing company and I haven't looked back since. So I did dental marketing for practices for implant marketing. I then worked at the DEO, the Dentist Entrepreneur Organization, which is where I got my feet wet in the DSO space, and another marketing company under my belt after that. And I just realized that a lot of industry partners are struggling to get in front of DSOs. And if they do, they're very salesy, very pitchy. And I realized how relational our industry is. So we built our Thrive Tribe to help industry partners tell their stories and get in front of DSOs and build those relationships because that's ultimately what matters to them. And we do it through LinkedIn of all social platforms.
I love it. Colin, I know you're chomping at the bit, but I have one more question. It's a new question that we haven't asked yet, but I want to, Sarah, can you characterize our Thrive Tribe client of yours, someone who's utilizing best practices, and then contrast them to someone else who is a peer of theirs in the dental space, but isn't using you or isn't aware of the services or magic they can use to level up their brand? So there's these two people in the dental space right now. Who are they and how are they different?
I might even start with the second portion of your question. I talk to salespeople all the time, and I feel like I'll oftentimes, and Kyle, well, both of you will appreciate and understand this. They're like, we're waiting for our marketing leads to come through. And I'm like, but don't you kind of like money and stuff? If there's something that you can do for yourself, like, wouldn't you want to? And I know oftentimes it's like their companies supporting them and things like that. So there's two types of people that are waiting for people to come to them. And then there's others in our industry who are like, I know that I need to do something. I see that this works and I might be afraid to put myself out there, but I want to work with somebody like you or like me who can help them do that.
Who are these types of people? Are they like, I don't know, tech SaaS founders that are trying to like work and might, look at some services from you and then do it or not do it or something like that? Or are there other people, what's the type of people? Are they like mostly vendors, or is there other types of relationships that people are trying to cultivate with DSOs?
Well, I'm going to get real. Tech SaaS companies approach me all the time and they talk their adorable tech SaaS talk to me and they're like, that's what we're going to talk to clinicians or DSOs about. And I'm like, if you do, no one's going to care. No one cares that where you went to school. No one cares how many software companies. Of course, it's important. You spent all of this time, but if you want to grow in the DSO space, they want to know that you understand them. And so they come to me a lot, and it's very interesting because they'll act like they're interested, and they're like, "Yes, we see the value." And then oftentimes they'll respond back to me and say, "You know what? Can we just give you money for referrals that you give to us?" No, I can't. I build really strong relationships in the industry, and I would hate if a DSO thought that I was like bringing somebody to them because they knew and then they knew or thought I was making money off of that. So
Hmm.
I don't like that. But I do get a lot of like founders, tech startups that don't know very much about the space.
Is there a trend or like a grouping of that right now? Like, when I go to, Chicago midwinter, Yankee, it feels like of the tech companies that are taking the floor, there's like 10 AI voice companies or AI image processing for like x-ray diagnosis or AI insurance verification, things like that. And we kind of have partnered with some of those people, but I'm wondering if those are also the common leads that you're seeing of people that are interested in getting out there, if there's other people in the space that are getting involved with you or wanting to.
Those are a lot of them, and RCM is a big one too. Like, wow, it's like I don't even know how many every day reach out to me and are like, "We're new AI," but you're right, voice or AI, RCM are really, really common, or consultants that are reaching out to me. Those are the most common.
It seems to me like I heard this on one of the podcasts I listened to, and it stuck with me. Is that like the way tech is going today? Is it's much easier. It's 10 times easier to build product. You can vibe code, you can do AI, you can just like get product off the ground so quick. But almost as a consequence of that, the sales process is 10 times harder. Like the conversation is noisy. There's a lot of new entrants, and I guess it's harder to sell. It's hard to be a trusted person. And my personal opinion is like time will tell like how many of these flash in the pans are going to stay the course and build a customer base and learn to maintain and develop product over the long haul, or if it was just like a trial and error and like, hey, we tried it, it didn't work. But I was wondering if you maybe have any validation to that. It just feels like the conversation is getting noisier and noisier, and maybe how that affects how you go about your business when you're trying to prepare people to get in the room with a DSO.
That is a really good question. And the how I look at it as when you put all of these companies next to each other, and as far as marketing goes, we all know what's the most important thing, what's your unique selling proposition, right? And to me, when you put them all next to each other, their unique selling proposition is their people. So if their people get out there and tell their story, I think that is one way for them to have longevity in the space is if they just start talking to people versus standing there behind their booth waiting for people to come up to them and talk to them. And then they wait and they're like, "Well, why isn't anybody talking to me? We have an amazing product." Well, you might have an amazing product, but you're not getting your voice out there.
Yeah, nobody's
So,
using it.
no. And so I lecture people about this, Colin, every day. My loving lecture, and I literally have on my LinkedIn profile for anyone listening the exact way to grow your personal brand in the DSO space on LinkedIn. Watch my video and do it. But not very many people do. So to really make yourself stand out, if you actually do those things, I bet the people that are building their personal brands, those tech companies, those SaaS companies will be here for the long haul because they're building relationships.
Kyle, I think Sarah maybe like 3 minutes ago said, let's get real. So I think that I'd love Kyle to help me get real here. For all the listeners out there that may have seen my personal LinkedIn for a couple months, we worked
Yes.
with a group that Kyle cultivated a relationship with. Actually, I'll pause there. Like Kyle, why don't you explain what happened on LinkedIn with the path that we went with that to try to do some of this stuff? And maybe riff off that with what Sarah does. And
Well, yeah, you read my mind. I'm actually trying to pull up the infamous or the famous post, I guess we should say, because I would love to do a screen share and for us to dissect this and be like, what is so great about this post? What resonated? Because we've tried to repeat it. I mean, we're not ding dongs over here. We're like, wow, that really worked. And we have really not been able to, but we've had some good stuff. So let me give a plug to my friend Teddy Giard, who has a creative marketing company called Giard and Co. And he has a very clever lead generation and thought leadership flywheel that Sarah, would love to hear your feedback on. And it's called Founder Therapy. And what we did is for 4 or 5 months, we would get Colin on a Riverside podcast, just like we are. And one of Teddy's team members, Adam, would ask Colin questions about entrepreneurship and about dental, and we would record it. And then we would feed that transcript into AI and we would use the podcast. And actually, we're doing that to kind of get meta for a second. We are doing that with this podcast right now. The Extraction podcast is the hub of the TeamCare dental marketing hub and spoke wheel. We use this podcast and we generate Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn content off of the conversations that we have with really smart people like you, Sarah. So we did this through Founder Therapy. And we would talk to Colin and he would wax poetic for 60 to 90 minutes about the hardships of starting things, about the nuance of dental. And that was then extrapolated into multiple dozens of posts. One of those posts went viral on LinkedIn, which I'm going to pull up in just a second. As I'm pulling that up, Sarah, what do you think about that? That whole, it's a beautiful process. And especially with AI now, it's great.
I love that. And I use Riverside for that exact reason. So even when we're onboarding a client, we'll interview them while we're going through their onboarding questionnaire so that we can get their voice, because we log in and we manage all of their content creation, their engagement, and we do the same thing. And I think it's so smart. Sometimes we'll use the video clips, but my personal opinion of video on LinkedIn is that it's not
Could
like
we
you.
hate to interrupt, but could we like use a story or like one of your favorite clients, a success that like, hey, they came to me and we were trying to get here and we started here and like this is how it went. Just to give me like a little more context of how it goes. Like give me some color, like how many posts were you doing? What'd you do to prep the person and build the voice? Like I'm really interested in that, how you guys are doing that stuff. So do it as like a example, like a testimonial almost, or a case study as like someone that was really successful.
My favorite thing about what we do is that we help people build their personal brand and also discover it and become more self-aware, right? So a consultant had come to us and she's older in her 60s, adorable, and she was like terrified to start her business. And so we helped her, and she was posting content about flowers. And anybody who's probably watching this that knows anything about the space probably knows this person, because we do still incorporate that because it's part of her, but she wasn't quite sure
Was she
what
in the
type of
industry?
content.
Was she like
She
a
is.
hygienist or an assistant or a doctor previously?
She's worked clinical before. So we helped her identify what is it that you want to do. So we identified that she's a fractional chief hygiene officer, which there really wasn't very many of those in the space. So we created a lot of content for her around even incorporating flowers into her leadership style and things like that. And the cool thing was we also will do direct messaging. So we say we court people in the comments first, right? Because you can't just slide into people's DMs, lowers that barrier of entry once you've engaged in their content. And the amount of messages that this young lady gets regularly to either schedule meetings at conferences or just DSO leadership executives that are reaching out to her. I really like what it is that you're doing. I want to schedule a meeting. So even just seeing those, her account manager will message us all the time. We just got another message. It's so exciting. She's gotten business from it. And so to me, that's successful. One, because she's obviously getting leads, but two, this woman she was afraid to do this. And so to help her identify, and I strategize with her all the time about who to talk to and what conferences to go to and things. And so she's gotten business directly from that. And a lot of our clients have. And that's really neat. And also, the number one thing is when you go to a conference and I walk past a client and I hear someone say, I see you everywhere on LinkedIn. And it really
Hmm.
starts with 1 to 2 posts a week. We do a lot of engagement for our clients. We do about 15 per day. And so it could be anywhere from 10 to 25, depends on how quickly they want to grow. But that engagement, that's like the key. Just posting content is like standing at a conference with your beautiful background behind you, and engagement is like actually going out and talking to the people. That's what makes the big difference.
That's what you're saying in the comments, connecting with people in the comments, messaging them, stuff like that. Did I get
Mhm,
that right?
mhm.
Okay. So the post is maybe like a starting point, and then hopefully you get a little bit of action in the comments. And the more that you engage those people in the comments, the better, more real relationships you're going to have. And that's a best practice versus just raw messaging someone, sliding into DMs kind of stuff, right?
Big fat no. And not only engaging with people on your content, but engaging on other people's content.
Other people's
That's
content.
what,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And
So
then that's like a parallel thing, right? It's like, you wouldn't look at flowers, but you might look at other consultants, other dental key influencers, stuff like that, right?
Uh-huh.
for our listeners, I'm going to quickly read what is on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, or I think we even show the video on Spotify too, then you can see this. But I know a lot of our listeners are on Apple. So this is the post that Colin, this was 5 months ago. This post got 710 likes, 31 comments, 2 reposts, 80,000 impressions, which statistically for us was huge. It's in a league of its own. And you really could codify this, I think, but it's not something that you could do every post. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so here it is. My first 2 shots in college lacrosse both went in. It was my debut game as a redshirt freshman at Drexel. We're playing Virginia, ranked #1 in the country. And Coach Bates calls timeout to drop a play. I'm supposed to open on the back door. The play works. I catch it, dunk it in, game tied. 13 seconds later, we win the faceoff. The midfielder pushes the ball forward on a fast break, and suddenly I'm at the point with the ball. Usually I'd look to set something up, maybe skip a pass to create a better opportunity, but I'm 15 yards out, way outside my normal range, and for some reason, I just let it rip. Bottom left corner. The goalie whiffs. We beat the #1 team in the country. Fast forward 10 years, my wife opens a dental practice in 2016, and we're barely breaking even. We're literally sleeping on the couch in the office some nights. I'm doing my MBA at Chicago, and we've got this consulting firm telling us we need to spend $20,000 in marketing and hire a $60 an hour hygienist when we could barely make payroll. They said, trust the process. You're already struggling, but you need to go deeper into risk to get out of it. It felt exactly like that moment at Virginia. Same feeling in my gut. We decided to take that shot, spent the money, hired the hygienist, trusted a process that felt financially terrifying. Within 4 weeks, we started seeing results. The shot that feels way outside your range is usually the one you need to take. And then there's an image of Colin, a little bit of nuance, not in that game. This was actually, I think, the next year, because this was my redshirt freshman year. But there's a picture of Colin playing against Virginia.
Thanks for letting me
Isn't it? I mean,
relive that glory day
like,
moment, Kyle. So is there some parallel, Sarah, to the flowers in this case? I think that one of the things that we saw with this, or experimentation wise, was this reach, because it had like a lacrosse flavor to it. It probably went outside into like other networks. It's like all my lacrosse buddies and their lacrosse buddies. This started to reach out. It was tying back into the dental, obviously, because that's like my company, TeamCare. But I wonder if that's sort of like an analogy of some of the things that you see in successful posts, where there might be like a personal core to it, but then it, brings along the business side or like the intentional side.
1,000%. First of all, it was a picture of you, right? So it wasn't an infographic or just words. So that is like key. I tell all of our clients, you have to give us pictures. You told a great story. It's true. It's about you. And it literally does tie into dental. And you also talked about the fact that you have experience in dental. Your wife owns a dental practice. Like that, I think starts to really, those are the kinds of things that build trust. When you identify specifically, and I know that you're right, like those 80,000 impressions, that probably was outside the dental industry, but I guarantee that people reading that were like, wow, he really gets it. He understands where I'm coming from. I have had somebody tell me that I have to make that investment and hire that $60 an hour hygienist, and that's terrifying, but he did it. It's very relatable.
As that post, as an example, played out, I got tons of text messages from out of nowhere, like old buddies, coaches, whatever. And I probably didn't do the best job about like cultivating the traffic of that, And so I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like that's a big piece of maybe what you help handle for your clients, where if people are commenting on that post, the goal might be to make sure that we meet up at the next dental convention or something like that. And, not just have a great post that goes viral, so to speak, for 80,000, which is probably not really viral by most standards, but it's like to, get traction of it and have some, so, talk to me about that.
Well, yeah, you certainly wouldn't have all those damn red notifications. What are you doing with your LinkedIn, Colin?
Thank
For
you. Thank you
crying
for
out
keeping this
loud.
real.
Oh my gosh, you've got
Yeah, that was,
so many.
it's all in mail.
You know what's
not all
funny
in
is
mail.
I didn't
It's
even
not all in
see
mail.
it. It's like certain times if I look at, like a dental schedule, it's like things just pop out. You're like, oh, there, that's the problem. When I saw that LinkedIn dashboard, I didn't even notice that red badge.
You're like, look at me on the field. Oh my gosh, like I love
80,000.
this.
I like that number.
There is something, Sarah, so I'm looking in because I have access to Colin's LinkedIn, so I'm reading and it's like, hey Colin, it's awesome to be connected and I love your insert, like obviously it's like they're using some intelligent AI tools to help and it's like, just, this is BS. But if we could meet the AI with AI and bring the conversation to a point where it's like, all right, is there a way for us to both make money together here? Like, because it's like, oh, hey, I'd love to get coffee and learn about how you're helping people increase hygiene retention. It's like, that's a waste of time. That's what we're showing in the inbox is a waste of time.
Can I tell a story?
Please.
I was scrolling through LinkedIn and this woman was talking about apple fritters and deep frying apple fritters on her stove. And I was like, that sounds terrifying. I would burn shit down. Like, so I'm commenting back and I'm like, what did you use? She's like, cast iron skillet. And I was like, weren't you afraid? She's like, no. And I'm like, well, they look delicious. And she messages me and she's like, hi, Sarah. My name's Bonnie. I'm the COO of a 5, soon to be 7 location DSO. And we just had our quarterly marketing meeting. Are you literally verbatim? Are you who we need to hire for marketing? No, I'm not. I don't work with group practices. I don't work with dental practices. I work with vendors. But I knew I was going to love her so much. So I brought my COO with me to the meeting and I said, Bonnie, this is Craig. It's my COO. I brought him because he's responsible and I will say yes to you because I already adore you, but this is not my wheelhouse and I don't want to do this. So he's here to help me say no to you. And Bonnie and I have become great, great friends. And I've talked to so many dental practices and they want to feel like you really genuinely are building that relationship. So I know in marketing, right, especially for like new patient acquisition, that's like, there's a lot that you have to do. But if you want to grow in the DSO space, you have to be intentional. And it is easy to identify those AI responses and things like that. But once you have that really genuine conversation, and I know it takes time, trust me, I know it takes time to go through and look at somebody and be like, okay, well, hey, this person had this one conversation or said this on stage this one time, and that really meant a lot to me. Let me message them about that. That really resonates with people. And in my world, one DSO client could be very fruitful.
That's a game changer. Yeah. And
Right.
you actually also just covered something that I know is really important within your line of work. I'm going to describe it as embracing the cringe, which is, I'm not sure are you familiar with that term? Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. And Colin, I think we've maybe talked about this a couple of times, but what Bonnie did there's an art to talking about apple fritters on LinkedIn. Maybe a lot of people would say, why are you doing that? But personal branding is not self-promotion. And I think there's this, there has to be this exercise in renouncing one's ego or being like, oh, I'm scared or people are going to think I'm a loser. People are going to think I'm stupid. It's like, hey, if you go out there and you just show, and Sarah, everyone, you have to check out Sarah Ruberg on LinkedIn. It's a masterclass on authenticity and I don't want to say embracing the cringe because what you're doing is not cringe, but people think that like, oh, if I post this, I'm going to look like a loser. And that's only to your inner child. It's like, forget, no one cares about you. Everyone is so inside their own head. So the only way that you're going to get out there is if you post about apple fritters, right? And I think Colin doing that with the lacrosse and like, hey, this is actually changing my brain chemistry for a second because this is not something that I would usually see here. So I know that's really important when you talk about your clients, and it's uncomfortable for people to realize that as well.
It's the number one thing that people say to me. I don't want to promote myself. And I say, that's great. Don't. Talk about other people. Talk about a book that you're reading. And I don't think people realize you can say so much about yourself without saying anything about yourself. What kind of books do you read? That says something about you. And Kyle, what you just said, like, are you like Gary Vee moonlighting as Kyle? Because that's like I love Gary Vee. One, he says the F word a lot, and I really appreciate that. But you're right. People don't care. And even if they do, and I know this is so easy to say, but like, who the hell cares? Because usually, if somebody's saying something negative about you, it's really about them. It has nothing to do with you. And so Bonnie took it a step further at a conference, CareStack's Inner Circle. This young lady made homemade banana bread because she's a baker. So she posts a lot about like baking and food. It's something she's very passionate about. And she made homemade banana bread and individually wrapped them and gave them out. I don't even know how much banana bread she made. I was like, you better be careful, sister, because now everywhere you go, people are going to expect banana bread.
Wow,
So,
I would.
an amazing human. There's so many great
Love that.
people
Yeah.
in our
Paul
space.
Paul Graham, brilliant venture capitalist, co-founder of Y Combinator, says do things that don't scale. And making banana bread at conferences is totally not scalable. I know we want to wrap up our time here, and I want to make sure that everyone, if you're picking up what Sarah's putting down, you can check out Sarah at ourthrivetribe.co, also on Instagram at ourthrivetribe _. Join our Thrive Tribe on Facebook. We'll have all of this in the episode notes as well. Look, there's people that are listening to this and like, oh, I can't become famous on LinkedIn, or I can't generate business through my personality because I'm just not that type of person. And I'm telling you that that's not the way it works. It's working with people like Sarah that really understand how to help you tell your story. And so if any of that resonates with you, highly recommend you reach out to Sarah. Sarah, any last parting words of wisdom that you'd like to let our listeners know about?
I think personal branding is really, it's not the easiest of things, but it's so rewarding. The quality of our lives is determined by the quality of our relationships. And in order to have powerful, meaningful relationships, you have to be able to understand other people. And in order to understand other people, you have to be able to understand yourself. And that's ultimately what personal branding is. So it's not just for business, but it's also for us as individuals.
That was deep. Okay, my turn to wrap this up. So I'm going to be real with the pod one more time on this pod. Sarah and I talked a couple months back and talked about services, and I totally stonewalled Sarah. And it was not because I didn't like what we were doing, but we were just in the mix of other things. And so maybe there's something to revisit there. I think one of the realities that TeamCare is facing right now as a company is that we're having a lot of success. We just crossed over our thousandth location, active location dental practice.
Woohoo, yeah.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
And we've done so with a couple key partners and marketing firms, accounting firms, some DSO groups, coaches and consultants. And we've come to a place where a lot of people are using our core data service so that they get really good visibility into their clients' practice software and how they're performing and things like that. We have another side to our product that is very staff engaged. It's a way for staff members to get incentivized and things like that. And we, I think, have a little bit of an adoption curve issue in that world where we have these products that people are interested in and they like to have a level of handholding of someone to bring them along and monitor and talk to them about how the program's going and how these incentives are getting put into the practice. And so we've been on the search for some consultants and coaches that want to sort of walk the line of like some kind of TeamCare certification. And we have a lot of connected practices that, over 1,000 now that are in our system using our tools, but maybe not at the full level that they could. And we'd like to put a shout out there for any consultants or other people that maybe are interested in helping us people use our product better, but grow their practices and have a resource that we can refer people to. Hey, this is, I think, Sarah, when we were talking before, you work with some hygiene fractional leaders. We have practices that approach us and say, hey, I need help with hygiene. Who can I go to? And so maybe as I stonewalled you 3 months ago, maybe there's some opportunity here, like to maybe, I don't know if DSOs are directly our path, but maybe there's some mutual overlap there with some of the coaches and consultants that might be interested in becoming implementers that we can refer practices to, because there's a lot of work out there and we don't really want to do all that. We want to build tech that people love. And we want those coaches and consultants to be involved with us so that they can help be the boots on the ground resource and do what they do with the practices.
You know how
So maybe
you can
we'll
meet a lot of those
rekindle the
people?
fire. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
And
Just
not
saying.
by sliding into their DMs. I learned that too. That's bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bad. Bad, Colin.
Well, we'll talk again offline, but I wanted to wrap that up. And I think for people that have never, or maybe like this whole thing of like an outsourced LinkedIn PR is something that I experienced through some of the things that Kyle did with us with founder therapy, and it was kind of a really cool experience where wherever I went, people were like, "Hey, I saw your LinkedIn post. I really love what you're doing." And I wasn't doing that stuff directly. Sometimes I'd be like, "Really? What did it say?" Because I wasn't even involved in it. But I think that was a really exciting and cool experience. And for people out there, I think, Sarah, I follow your posts all the time. You do a wonderful job. It's a great thing. If people are trying to get out there, I know that you'd be a great resource for them. And it's a fun experience just to have people always talking about your posts and stuff like that.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me
Thanks,
on.
Sarah. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Thank you for listening to The Extraction with Colin Ambler and Kyle Bergman. Read episode notes and transcripts at teamcaredental.com.